Hello and welcome back. And in this video, we are going to be building another app in Swift Data and SwiftUI. And this time we're going to be building a contact list app. And basically this contact list app will store the information about our friends, colleagues, neighbors, or acquaintances that we met. Just keeping a record of their phone number and how do we know them? So relationship. Now we will be using this example to learn the seeding of the data in Swift Data. So basically providing some pre-existing values and populating data with those values. So that's what we're going to do in this video. Okay, so what I've done is I've created a blank project, and when I created this project, I made sure not to select any storage option. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So when you're going to go into your creating a new project, select app and then provide all the details, but when you have the storage option, leave the storage option as none. You have Swift Data and core data. Basically this creates a little bit more work for you if you select any of these storage options, because then you'd have to actually clean up the project, because Xcode adds some of the default code. And Swift Data is very easy to basically get started with. So for that reason, we can start with a blank project. Okay, all right, so now when we have the project created, first thing we're going to do is we're going to basically need a data model. So let's go ahead and create a data model for this. So I'm going to create a new folder, call this data models. I'm going to create a new file, and we will select a Swift file template and create this as a contact list, the name. Make sure we import Swift data. And let's start with the model attribute. We know this is going to be added, so we're going to start with that, and we're going to create a final class called contact list. We're going to add three properties in this class: name, phone, and relationship. Name and phone are obvious. Relationship is basically how do we know them? Are they friend, neighbor, or colleague, or so on? So basically some way to determine how do we know them. Okay, right, we're gonna create a init, and that's about it. So we are ready with our data model. Now each contact basically, like I said, will have a property called relationship to describe the connection with the contact. Now this value will be selected from a predetermined list. Now we can opt in to create a simple enum and store the values in it, but we can also do it in Swift Data, and we can actually use Swift Data so we can actually learn some concepts of seeding the data. And for that reason, we can actually create another model called relationship model. Make sure import Swift Data, and then we're going to create the model. Now the only property that this particular model is going to contain is going to be title. You can expand upon it a little bit more if you like, but I'm going to keep the example very simple. Now that we have all the data models ready, we will initialize the container in the app file. Okay, and this is where we're gonna basically use something called on setup closure for the model container modifier to seed the relationship data. Okay, so let's go ahead and import Swift data first, and then on the content view we're gonna add a model container modifier. And as you can see, model container modifier, one of the overload takes for the persistent type that we are actually looking for to store in this model container, and whether this is an in-memory, autosave is enabled, undo is enabled, and then last is basically the closure that gives us access to the container, and if there's any error that might have occurred during the setup of the container. Okay, so this on setup is basically called whenever your model container is ready to use. So this is what we can actually opt, and we can, with the help of this on setup, we'll actually precede some data. Okay, so let's go ahead and create the model container, and we're going to create the model container for contact list and relationship model. Okay, so if you have multiple models, you can actually put them in an array and then simply create them, and model container will actually consider both of the models and creates the backing tables for them. Now, on setup is a closure, so we can actually just simply create a closure. It gives us access to the result, which basically contains the the container that was created, or an error object if there's an error that occurred while creating the container. Okay, so we're gonna simply switch into the result. Okay, and there are two cases, so we're gonna say container, we get access to the container here, container, and we get access to the error here. Okay, now in the container part, basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the container's main context and insert some values. Okay, so I'm gonna first put a do try catch, so do catch. Okay, so we want to make sure we actually print the error if there's any error that occurred while seeding the data. Now, for to insert insert an object, we can simply say container dot main context. We can actually get access to the main context here, and we can actually say we can basically check out all the properties that it has, but we can also insert a model, and here we're gonna basically simply say relationship model with the title. Okay, and we can put friend. And what's going to happen is when the model is when the container is being created, that's when this particular model, right, when the container is being created, this particular data model will be inserted into the relationship model file, creating that record entity for the friend. Okay, now next thing what we're going to do is we're going to add a few more. So let me go ahead and add a few more. So I'm going to copy and paste, and let's go ahead and format all these. All right, so catch block is unreachable because no error is thrown. Okay, so we don't have any error thrown. We can leave this error for now because I want to show you a case where we can actually need the catch block. That is why we have it there. So we're gonna just ignore this for now. Okay, now let's build the UI, and basically with the UI we want to be able to add new contact and display them in a list view. So it's basically going to be a SwiftUI view. So let's go ahead and start with the add new contact view. So I'm going to create another group called views. Let's go ahead and first add a SwiftUI view, and we're going to add new contact. All right, I'm going to remove the preview because this is topic for another video where we actually learn how to use previews with the Swift data. So for now, just stick to the main concept that we are actually trying to learn here. So I'm gonna actually remove that preview section. Okay, next thing we need to do is we need access to the model context, and we also need access to the dismiss, so we can actually dismiss this particular modal when this is launched. So add new contact is going to be launched as a modal. User will be able to add new contact, and they would be able to save and dismiss from there. Okay, so we're going to simply use the environment, reach out to the model context, and another environment, and this one is going to be for dismiss, to gain access to the dismiss variable or dismiss function that we can call. Now we have these two environment variables ready, but we also need access to all the relationship values. Now relationship values we can fetch here, right here, by querying the database, but it's better approach basically if we pass it from the caller, because we're actually going to need a default values for the relationship, and if we pass it from the caller, whoever is actually launching this model, that way we can actually set the default value. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to simply create a private var relationships. This is going to be an array of relationship model, and we're going to create an init. This init is going to take relationships as a parameter. Again, relationship model as the type. Okay, and we're gonna basically first initialize the relationships is equal to the value that's been passed in. Okay, now next we're going to create 3 state properties, because we want user to be able to enter the name, phone number, and relationship values. So we need actually state properties to back those fields, like text field and picker field. Okay, so we're going to create state private var name. Okay, we're not going to initialize the state for the relationship, because we're going to populate that in the init. So we're going to simply reach out to the underlying variable that has been created, the state variable that has been created for the relationship, and we're going to state initialize it, state with initial value, and we're going to take the relationships, and we're going to reach out to its 0th index and get the title and set that as the value for the relationship. Now what's happening here is basically we are initializing not the relationship but the underlying state variable. So this is how you actually initialize the state with the default value if you have that use case. Okay, now it's time to build a UI. So we're going to basically go into the body section, and we're going to create a navigation stack. Inside the navigation stack, we're going to create a V-stack with the alignment leading. And let's go ahead and clean this up a little bit and have a proper trailing closure, and we're going to have a few texts. This is going to be a very simple UI, and it's going to have the value that user is supposed to type in at the top, with the label, and then text field at the right underneath. I'm going to copy this and paste it 2 times actually. So we're going to have a phone number, and the third one is basically going to be a picker field. So we're going to say picker with selection. Selection is going to be stored in or bound to the relationship state variable right here, which has the initial value defined as the first value of the relationships that has been passed in by the caller. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to actually, for the body, we're going to create a for each loop. We're going to loop over all the values in the relationships, and this is going to give us all the individual values. So we're going to simply say relationship, and we're going to create a text here, and the text is going to be dot title, and we're going to tag associate a tag with this, not task. Basically what value it represents. Okay, now we're gonna need a label as well, so let's go ahead and add a label for the picker, and this is gonna be just an empty text because we're gonna hide the label right underneath, so labels hidden. Okay, so we have our basic UI. Now user is able to enter all the information about their contact, but they're not able to save it yet. So let's go ahead and create a button, and this button is going to help them save the contact. All right, and we're going to simply call context, not contact, context dot insert the new contact that we have created. Let's rename this as new contact. There we go. Okay, now we don't need to call save or anything because we have auto save enabled, so we're going to simply dismiss from here. Right, for the label, we're going to simply have a text which is going to call save and close, and we're going to define a frame with the height of not minimum height but the height of 50 points, and max width as infinity. Okay, now let's go ahead and give this button a style, so button style dot border prominent. Okay, next we're gonna basically add a bit of a padding to this VStack. So let's go ahead and collapse this so we know where we are working, and we're gonna add a padding in the horizontal direction and a navigation title, add new contact. There we go. Okay, so now our add new contact is ready to go, and it can be used basically to create new records. But let's go ahead and put it inside a list view so we can call it from there, and then we can actually list out the existing or newly created contacts right there. Okay, so we can simply create a new file, and we're gonna again choose the SwiftUI view. We're gonna create this as contact list home, and then once again I'm going to remove the preview and import Swift data. All right, next thing what we're going to do is we're going to create add query, and this is where we're going to query the database, and we're going to get the basically all the contact lists. So contact, sorry, this should not be here, it should be right here, contact list dot name. So we want to sort all the contacts by name, and we're gonna get all the contacts in this list. Okay, now let's go ahead and create another query to fetch all the relationship values as well. All right, so we're going to get basically access to all the relationship models. Now we're going to create two properties or two state variables. There's going to be one to add, which is going to be a toggle to show the add new modal or not. Okay, so that is state private var add show add new, and we're going to set it as false. The other one is basically going to state the save the first value of the relationship. Okay, so default relationship, or yeah, and we're gonna set this as empty value, and then we're gonna actually populate it when the view is launched and appeared. Okay, so we're gonna create a navigation stack, and inside this navigation stack we're gonna create a list listing out all the contacts. Right, inside we're going to create a V stack. Let's go ahead and align all the contacts leading direction, and then we're going to simply print their name, their phone number, and the relationship with them. All right, and what we can do is actually we can create a group here, and inside the group we can move this and this because both of them have same modifiers. And let's go ahead and remove this and remove these format. Okay, now we have our list view ready to go. Basically we are going to attach a title to this, dev techies contacts. Okay, and then we're gonna add a toolbar, and this toolbar is basically gonna help us launch the add new screen. Okay, so toolbar, okay, and we're gonna add a toolbar item with the placement as leading trailing. Okay, and for the content we're gonna have a button which is simply going to toggle the show add new. And for the label we're gonna simply have an image, system name, okay, we are missing a parenthesis here, so it's complaining. There we go. And this is going to be plus dot circle. Okay, and then let's set the button style as border prominent. Let's go ahead and attach a sheet to this. And for the content, we are simply going to, let's go ahead and first clean up this a little bit. For the content of the sheet, we're going to show add new contact. Okay, we're going to pass the relationships as we have stored the relationships, and then presentation details. And basically we're gonna make sure that this is essentially a medium not full screen model, but like, half screen model. Okay, now there's one thing that I realized, like, I created this earlier, but we don't need that, so I'm just gonna remove that state variable. We're not gonna need that. Okay, now let's go ahead and go into the content view, and in the content view we're simply going to call the contact list home. So we are almost done. I mean, we are all done except just one thing. So I'll show you what that one thing is. Let's go ahead and choose the right. Okay, let's go ahead and choose the right. All right, some placeholder. Oh, okay, so we did not actually put the error, so let's go ahead and just simply say when the failure occurs, print so this is the error when, like, this error occurs when there is basically when the container could not be created at that time. Okay, so let's go ahead and build in and run, and here I have the app running. Ignore this warning for a minute. I'll show you what it actually does. So right now what's happening is our app is the container is being created, and our container is now created. We can add a new contact, and as you can see, our data is already populated, and we have not created any enum or anything. We have actually seeded this data in the database. So this is essentially coming from the database. Now in future you can extend this app further and make, like, it possible for the users to add new relationship values, but we're going to limit, like, to the seeding of the data in this video. So as you can see, the data is now created. Let's go ahead and add some values. So we're going to add John, and let's add the phone number as again, we are not focusing on the formatting, so let's leave it as maybe add it as colleague, and save. Okay, so as you can see now, John is shown up here, and we can add another one, Mary. Okay, let's add it as acquaintance, and as you can see, we did not select any value, so the value was already selected for us, and that was saved. Now let's go ahead and rebuild and launch it again to see if our values are actually saved. So as you can see, our values are saved, but there is an issue here. If you look at the model, the picker, you're going to notice that we have duplicated values. Now why these are duplicated? Well, the reason is the values of the relationship model are duplicated because every time whenever we launch the app, the container is reloaded, and when the container reload is done, whether it's from creating a new container or basically fetching the existing container, fetching the existing persistent storage and recreating the container from that, during those time on setup is called, and during that time on setup is called, and basically data is seeded again. So as many times as you launch the app or your user launches the app, the data will be added. Now there are several ways to fix it. We can actually fix it very easily by basically checking if the data is already been inserted in the model. Okay, and that's where we're gonna go back into our app file. Okay, and what we're gonna do is at the top, before we actually insert the data, we're gonna create a fetch descriptor and fetch the count of the values in the relationship model. Okay, so we're gonna say let fetch descriptor. We're gonna give it a type which is gonna be relationship model. Okay, and get the existing count. So let existing count fetch count for the fetch descriptor. Okay, so basically now we get the count, and we're gonna put a guard statement here. We're gonna say guard existing count is 0, then only proceed, otherwise return from here. Okay, now let's go ahead and relaunch this. And what we're gonna basically see is that our list is no longer increasing. Our data is not being fed again and again into the relationship model when the model container is ready to use, and we still have like 2 values. So we have fixed the problem. We've also fixed the wording because now we are using try here. So this was the reason why I actually originally inserted that. Now what about data cleaning? Well, there is one way to fix that data cleaning. We'll write a one-time query, and that one-time query is basically going to remove everything from the relationship model. Okay, so we can use the existing this fetch descriptor, the same one, and I'm going to comment this: remove this line after running once. Okay, and we're going to simply say try container dot main context dot delete. So same context we are using. Actually, we don't need the fetch descriptor, even the fetch descriptor actually. So I'm gonna put it right. Wait. Redo. Okay. Let's finish this first. Relationship model.self. Okay, and there's a parameter called model. Now what this line is going to do, this line is going to remove everything in this model. Okay, so we're gonna write it right at the top. Okay, so first thing, so what's gonna happen, the program is gonna flow like this. We're gonna delete everything that we have in the relationship model. Then the fetch descriptor is gonna be created. It's gonna get the count is going to be 0. All the values are going to be inserted. Now if you don't remove this line after the first execution, where we are actually trying to clean up the data, this line is going to run over and over, and your values are going to be created over and over. So if you decide to write a logic where a user can enter more relationships, then they're going to lose that information that they have entered. Okay, which is not a good experience. So for that reason, this is just a one-time debug kind of a thing, and you can actually put a debug statement here, but there we go, we have all of our data cleaned. Okay, so now I'm gonna comment this, and with that we have reached the end of this video, where we actually learned how to precede data using in Swift data, using some of the simple logic and some pre-existing modifiers, which is model container, which helps us set up the container ready to go and ready to use. All right, thank you so much once again for watching, and I will see you guys in another video.